place to get injured.
Bear Grylls is Running Wild, all new Tuesday on Fox.
My wife vetoed all my baby names. Huckleberry Patel would have been a major league pitcher.
So what have I got to say to get you to prescribe me the good stuff?
I think I led us down a weird path. I'm not actually going to kill anyone. You know, I was just asking if you would have to report it out of curiosity. And you do have to report it, which is good, and why I asked.
I understand that giving a patient a letter grade completely misses the point of therapy, but if you were to give me a score out of 100 on how good I'm doing...
There's a couple of areas I don't want to unravel. Love life, family, fear of mortality. Oh, nothing about body or food. Let's do it.
All new Fear Factor next Thursday on Fox. Now, your primetime local news leader. Fox 22 News at 10.
A Waldo County teen who was charged in connection with the murder of paddleboarder Sunshine Stewart last summer was in court today after recently being found competent to stand trial. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones. Devin Young appeared via Zoom in a Rockland courtroom as lawyers from both sides addressed multiple procedural matters. The state is asking for a bind-over mental health evaluation, which is when an evaluation is done in connection with the potential for a case to be transferred from juvenile court to adult court. That motion was approved and the evaluation will take place. It is likely the defense will order their own evaluation as well. As a result of the proceedings today, we now know that the hearing to actually determine whether the case gets moved to adult court is months away, possibly in September. That decision is pivotal to the case and what Mr. Young is facing legally. Officials in Lewiston are investigating a shooting that injured a teenage boy. Details are limited at this time, but according to the Lewiston Police Department, crews responded around 4:30 p.m. to an incident at 4 Avon Street. They say they heard reports of screaming and multiple gunshots in that area. Police also say witnesses reported seeing several teenagers fleeing the scene. A 14-year-old boy was found suffering from a gunshot wound to the leg. He is now in stable condition at Central Maine Medical Center. Police have detained several teenagers and recovered 3 firearms. They say the investigation is still active. And a scary scene in Bangor last night after a woman was allegedly attacked in her home. 2 men are now facing charges. Bangor police say it was around 6:38 Wednesday night when they learned 2 men had entered the victim's home at Holiday Park Estates, a mobile home community off Essex Street. They say 46-year-old Michael Clark of Columbus, Ohio, and Dovon Campbell of Michigan assaulted the woman, threatened her, and then locked her in a bathroom. The woman was able to escape, and that's when police were called. We're told some nearby residents in the trailer park were told to evacuate while police moved in to make the arrests. Clark and Campbell are now charged with kidnapping, assault, and criminal threatening with a dangerous weapon. In other news tonight, for the first time, Senator Susan Collins is speaking about a minor health condition she has lived with for decades that some may have noticed, but that she hadn't discussed until now. On occasion, Senator Collins has exhibited a slight shake that at times affected her voice or body. Collins says that is due to a condition she has had during the entirety of her service in Congress. It's called a benign essential tremor. Collins says the condition affects about 1 in 20 people over the age of 40, but in no way affects her ability to do her job as a senator. In a statement emailed to our station, she said in part, quote, "The tremor is occasionally inconvenient and sometimes the subject of cruel comments online, but it does not hinder my ability to work and, as I said, is something that I have lived with for decades," end quote. Well, many of us have felt the pain at the pump lately as gas prices continue to rise. One gas station chain took today to help folks save some money while filling up. It's something Circle K calls Fuel Day, an opportunity for folks Thursday evening from 4 to 7 p.m. to save 40 cents per gallon at any Circle K gas station. The Odland Road location in Bangor was bustling with people filling the parking lot, long lines with vehicles from U-Hauls to 18-wheelers to sports cars and sedans. Circle K is also going to donate 10% of profits from that event to the Children of Fallen Patriots Foundation in honor of Memorial Day. And with summer right around the corner, our Alex Schley tells us how rising prices could impact the Maine lobster industry.
For many Maine lobstermen, just leaving the harbor this summer is costing more than it did a year ago. From fuel to bait and traps, expenses are going up.
But yeah, it will affect everybody because it's expensive, no doubt about it.
Carter says the last time he filled his 200-gallon tank, diesel cost him about $4.60 a gallon.
I'm only hauling very close to the shore right now, so I'm only hauling like 50 gallons a day.
Carter says the cost of bait has also remained high after last summer's spike.
I guess it's about the same this year so far as it was last year, and it was up last year, so I don't see it going down.
However, Carter says the price they get per pound likely won't reflect that.
Canada has most of the bigger buyers, so they kind of control our price a lot of the time. It's really tough because they're opening seasons right now, so it depends on what the price is and how good they do, whether or not we get a better price.
Meaning in an industry with already thin margins, lobstermen say this year they're expecting to feel the squeeze. Still, despite rising costs and uncertainty, they say work doesn't stop.
You got to go. Either way, you have to go to work, so just make a little less.
In Northeast Harbor, Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Elver season is supposed to be a lucrative, albeit limited, fishery that over the years has seen prices per pound over $2,000. This year's catch is seeing record low valuation. Thus far this season, dealers reported buying a total of roughly 5,900 pounds, a little over half the total quota for this year's fishery. And the average price per pound the Elver is fetching is only around $308. Now, this data is preliminary. While the $308 per pound is not the lowest price in the history of the fishery, it is the lowest since 2011. In 2018, Elvers fetched $2,366 per pound. In 2023, it was still over $2,000 per pound. And just last year, Elver fishers saw $891 per pound. And now, folks, we'll pause and take a first look at our forecast.
Thank you very much. Your first weather tonight is brought to you by Tick and Mosquito Guard. We stop ticks and mosquitoes, now serving Washington, Hancock, and Penobscot counties. We are pet safe and have eco-friendly options available. Call today for a free quote, 207-263-3421. All right, as you saw for today, we did reach into the low 60s here in Bangor, upper 50s for Bar Harbor, Machias, 61 in Rockland, a few more low to mid 60s as you head down to the southwest of Bangor, but a little bit further north it was cooler for some of us today. You're seeing that in Greenville and Clayton Lake, hanging out in the low 50s for your highs today. Now, for tonight, we'll see the skies clearing up after a few scattered showers earlier today, and that's going to allow temperatures to fall back into the 30s. Now, for tomorrow, if you look at your radar, it may look like this, but there's going to be a lot of dry air at the surface, so could be a few sprinkles for tomorrow, otherwise staying dry with partly cloudy skies. We will see a little bit of sunshine out there as well. So for tonight, the skies are clearing. We got the winds going light after a little bit of a breeze out there this afternoon. So yes, for tonight, expect those lows to fall down into the mid to upper 30s. Beth?
Thank you, Chase. Still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, Heart of Maine United Way is spotlighting a major food drive happening this Saturday, May 9th. And our Doug Banks went to Rideout Gardens in Eddington, where the staff is hard at work ahead of Mother's Day. Those stories and more local news when we come right back.
What does Graham Plattner think of rural Mainers? He calls them stupid and racist. And Plattner called some Maine lobstermen drug-addicted pieces of shit. That's the real Graham Plattner. Pine Tree Results Pack is responsible for the content of this advertising.
We're lucky to live in Maine. We have a wealth of natural resources, hardworking people, and time for the things that matter. Mechanical Services is all about Maine, with energy efficiency that protects our environment and helps businesses grow. Preventive maintenance and energy solutions that save money. How Maine is that? Mechanical Services. We're everywhere you are in Maine.
Is that a compression nut? Oh! Ah! Ow.
We got a duct taper.
Sprague's Nursery and Garden Center is your destination for all things green, and yellow, and pink, and red, and, well, you'll understand when you visit us. Plants aren't just another department here. They're our whole world. From gardening classes to our expansive greenhouses, we cultivate a community of budding and seasoned gardeners alike. Professional landscapers turn to us too. Shouldn't you? Sprague's Nursery and Garden Center, growing with you since 1947.
Graham Plattner blames Maine's women for getting raped because he says they get up drunk. And Plattner bragged about having a Nazi tattoo on his chest. That's the real Graham Plattner. Pine Tree Results Pack is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Welcome back. Heart of Maine United Way is highlighting a major food drive slated to take place this coming Saturday, May 9th. They are partnering with the National Association of Letter Carriers on their Stamp Out Hunger food drive. Letter carriers, along with volunteers, collect non-perishable food donations that folks set out by their mailboxes. It is a national effort and the largest one-day food collection event in America, and it's been going on for years.
Last year in the Bangor area, we collected over 13,000 pounds of food, and that made more than 10,000 meals for needy people in the Bangor area, especially where prices are increasing everywhere and more families are struggling to put food on the table. Every little bit helps.
Well, again, they are asking for non-perishable food items like canned goods and boxes of pasta. Just put out your donations by your mailbox by Saturday morning or on Saturday morning. The food will be distributed by food banks. Well, Mother's Day is this Sunday, and flowers are a go-to gift. There's a nursery in Eddington whose new owners are hard at work making sure there's something for everyone. And as our Doug Banks explains, it's not about what kind of flowers you get, it's about what they represent.
Life is in bloom at Rideout Gardens in Eddington as they prepare for Mother's Day.
It's really the Super Bowl for nursery businesses. Mother's Day is what nursery businesses prepare for.
It's a welcome change of pace during a gray-ridden spring.
Very gray, very wet, but that's living in Maine, right?
Growing alongside tomorrow's colors are Chris Glick and his wife, the new co-owners of Rideout Gardens.
I work in cybersecurity. Any other free hour I have, taking care of plants. The previous owners, Mike and Diane, are still very active in helping us. This is our first year, so we have 3 greenhouses open. We've got 1 vegetable greenhouse and then 2 flower greenhouses.
Which makes it easy on those seeking variety or specificity.
I want fire tails.
I come here with the thoughts of teaching my children about how plants grow and vegetables grow and where our food comes from.
As time ticks towards Sunday, flowers are not fleeting beauty, but rather a moment encapsulating a lifetime.
Whether it's your spouse or your own mother, it shows that love is long-term, much more long-lived than flowers in a vase.
In Eddington,
it's a good reflection.
Doug Banks.
And of course, gives that pop of color.
ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, health officials are tracing passengers across multiple continents after confirmed hantavirus cases aboard the stranded MV Hondius cruise ship. And Iran's foreign minister says Iran has not yet reached a conclusion on the proposal, and no response has been given to the U.S. yet. We'll be right back.
Ready to create your backyard oasis? Alexander's Professional Landscaping will work with you to create your perfect outdoor space. Work one-on-one with our landscape designer to create a unique garden to fit your family's personal aesthetics and lifestyle. Have our pros install your new lawn, garden, or patio. Schedule a consultation today by calling 573-4497. Alexander's Professional Landscaping, the way landscaping should be.
You're getting ripped off. Criminals overbill Maine Care. They even charge for fake services, and Janet Mills let it happen. I'm Jonathan Bush. I've built systems that stopped fraud and abuse and saved customers millions. As governor, I'll audit every program and reduce that waste and fraud. Politicians and lobbyists don't have what it takes to clean up this corruption, but I do. I'm Jonathan Bush. Let's shake up Augusta.
Hi, Rich Robichaud from J&J Auto Salvage. Yep, been here 40 years, retiring this year. Turning the reins over to Anthony and the boys. Hope to serve you for another 40 years. The next time you're thinking about saving money on your car, give us a call. We got fenders, doors, motors, transmissions, you name it, whatever it is, we have it. We're down on the Brewer Lake Road. Everything we sell carries a 90-day warranty. And don't forget, best attitude in the business.
When the morning light hits Maine, start your day with a good morning, Maine. Craig Colson, Janessa Bishop, by your side, bringing the stories that matter statewide. Local news and the forecast ahead. Wake up informed, ready to go on ABC 7 and Fox 22.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
The search is on for people who got off the hantavirus cruise ship weeks ago, though the World Health Organization is assuring the public it's not the beginning of a new pandemic. Fox's Caroline Elliott reports.
Health officials are now tracking down dozens of passengers around the world who left the quarantined cruise ship before the outbreak was reported. According to the Dutch government, the whereabouts of those passengers who are from at least 12 different countries are still unknown. Several countries are now scrambling to trace them.
It's not a virus that is easily transmitted to a lot of people. So I think it's extremely unlikely that this would become a pandemic situation.
For those still on board, life at sea isn't what they hoped it would be.
One of our passengers sadly passed away last night.
Some passengers believe more should have been done early on.
There was open buffet, and we had lecture sessions, group activities, still.
According to Ocean-Wide Expeditions, the ship didn't realize this was the beginning of an outbreak, and health officials now believe the virus originated in Argentina. The leading theory is the Dutch couple who died were exposed to rats at a landfill during a bird-watching tour and then unknowingly brought the virus on the boat.
We were on board with these people for 24 days straight. I knew these people, and I'm very sad.
And of the passengers being tracked down, we're told 6 are American. In New York, Caroline Elliott, Fox News.
Israel has its own concerns as the U.S. and Iran work towards a peace deal to end the war. There are fears any such agreement might not be good for the Jewish state. Fox's Ashley Webster explains.
As the U.S. and Iran try to strike a peace deal, there are concerns in Jerusalem tonight that whatever agreement is reached, Israel will be left with little advantage and potentially facing a stronger Iran. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is dismissing reports that he was caught off guard by Washington's diplomatic moves toward Iran.
We are maintaining continuous contact with our friends in the United States. I speak with President Trump almost on a daily basis. My people and his people are in contact on a daily basis, including today. I will also speak with President Trump later tonight. There is full coordination between us, and there are no surprises.
Israel has been fighting a multi-front war since the October 7th massacre in 2023. There are fears that a weak deal could allow Tehran to preserve strategic capabilities and breathing room to rebuild its economy. Another major Israeli concern is that sanctions relief or renewed trade for Tehran could allow money to be channeled back to Iran's terrorist proxies. Israel and Lebanon are set to hold a third round of talks next week, even though the existing ceasefire between the countries is seeing breaches on a daily basis. And to the south, Israeli media reports suggest that Israel is preparing to resume fighting in the Gaza Strip because of the impasse and Hamas's refusal to disarm. And Israel faces the same problem in Lebanon, where Hezbollah refuses to give up its weapons, and the Lebanese government is unwilling and unable to disarm that terror group. In Tel Aviv, Ashley Webster, Fox News.
The Senate adopted a measure banning its members and aides from participating in the booming prediction markets. Fox's chief congressional correspondent Chad Pergram has more.
You can't predict the future,
and now can't even bet on it in the Senate.
This is a national security risk. The very possibility that a member's vote could be influenced by a bet is reason enough to slam the door shut.
The Senate banned all members and staff from wagering money in prediction markets on certain real-world events like war, the economy, and the fate of legislation.
The bill is passed.
There's concern on both sides that prediction market speculation could tilt political outcomes.
Trying to place bets where we might have inside information deteriorates the confidence that our constituents have in us.
But the House is playing catch-up with the Senate.
Any place where your role in Congress has a potential for individual benefit, I think needs to be tightly controlled.
The feds arrested a service member after betting on the capture of former Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro last month. And Virginia U.S. Senate candidate Mark Moran bet that he would run, then made money when he jumped into the race. Also, plans to bar lawmakers from trading stocks are stalled, despite demands for years.
Send me a bill that bans insider trading by members of Congress. I will sign it tomorrow.
Let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information.
Stock ban advocates say the public is fed up with lawmakers playing the market. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is an active stock trader but defends her trades. Pennsylvania Republican Rob Bresnahan was a prolific trader but stopped after introducing a bill banning members from trading stocks. On Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
A court date between the Pentagon and a sitting U.S. Senator as Arizona's Senator Mark Kelly defends himself against efforts to demote him over a video he made with other Democrats last year. We go back to Fox's Caroline Elliott for more.
Last year, I said something that the president didn't like, that service members need to follow the law.
The Trump administration in court today doubling down on its efforts to punish Arizona Senator and former Navy Captain Mark Kelly.
The president and the Secretary of Defense picked the wrong guy. When it comes to our most fundamental rights, I will not back down.
The fight started last year from a video that Democratic lawmakers dropped on social media.
We want to speak directly to members of the military.
Senator Mark Kelly, along with other veterans turned lawmakers, sent the message to military members to defy, quote, illegal orders as President Trump deployed the National Guard to cities around the U.S. and the Pentagon carried out strikes in the Caribbean.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law.
Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth labeled the group the Seditious Six and said the video was, quote, clearly intended to undermine good order and military discipline.
You can't have a functioning military if there is disorder and chaos within the ranks, and that's what these Democrat members were encouraging.
Hegseth also threatened to demote Kelly and reduce his pension. The court seemed like they would side with Kelly, but regardless of the ruling, the case will likely end up before the Supreme Court. In New York, Caroline Elliott, Fox News.
And still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, we'll have more of your national headlines.
DeChambeau and the stars of Live tee it up in Virginia. Live Golf, Friday and Sunday on Fox.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
We need to stop the trafficking of fentanyl. We've had serious issues. Our death rate climbed tremendously.
Susan Collins successfully fought to give law enforcement the critical tools they need to combat fentanyl traffickers.
And I don't know anybody else as sincere as Susan Collins is about keeping our young people and our communities safe. Thank you, Senator Collins, for delivering when it matters most.
From the heart of Maine, where rugged beauty meets timeless craftsmanship, Richard Henderson & Sons Masonry, taming the outdoors through groundwork, retaining walls and seawalls, building custom fireplaces that become the centerpiece of your home. crafting granite steps and patios that invite you outdoors, designing hardscapes that turn yards into living spaces, built to last, crafted for life. Richard Henderson and Sons Masonry, quality in every stone.
Car accidents can be scary. It can feel like the whole world is crashing down around you. Hurt in a car accident, I'm on top of it. I'm your go-to guy.
Call 222-2222.
We're ready for baseball, and off we go.
Major League Baseball, all season long on Fox.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
Following a rift emerging between the president and the Pope, Secretary of State Marco Rubio heads to the Vatican to mend fences. Fox's Madeline Rivera has more from Washington.
Secretary, good to see you. Good morning.
The world is watching and waiting to see if America's top diplomat can ease the tensions between the president and the Pope. Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrived at the Vatican Thursday for a series of meetings with officials and Pope Leo after a series of disagreements and harsh words between Trump and Leo over the war in Iran. Rubio made it clear, though, that was not the main focus of this trip. He says it was planned before these exchanges between President Trump and Pope Leo. Still, this was a moment for dialogue. The Pope said he hoped they could reach an understanding, while the president argues the pontiff does not understand what's at stake in Iran.
Whether I make him happy or I don't make him happy, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And he seemed to be saying that they can.
But the Pope says the church has always been against nuclear weapons. So in that area, the two leaders might have something in common.
President Trump and Pope Leo, as it relates to nuclear weapons, are not that far off. He said nobody should use nuclear weapons. What is Pope Leo's stance? It's the Catholic Church's stance, which is actually nobody should have nuclear weapons.
And the Vatican is insisting the Pope is simply advocating for peace, not playing politics.
That's what the Pope is always going to be doing, saying peace, peace. War is always a failure of humanity. That doesn't mean that the Pope is naive. That very tough decisions have to be made.
Secretary Rubio says there are other areas where the White House can work with the church, like distributing aid in Cuba. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
The Food and Drug Administration reverses course on vaping. It's now authorizing flavored vapes for the first time. Fox's Mike Emanuel with that story.
A major policy shift could have a big impact on kids across the country. The FDA greenlit fruit-flavored vapes for the first time in the U.S. 4 pods from the e-cigarette company Glass, including mango and blueberry. It's a sharp U-turn after years of blocking those flavors in an effort to stop teens from vaping. But some critics say that crackdown helped fuel a black market of cheap, unregulated Chinese vapes.
If you put anything in your body that was made inside of China, you're taking a risk.
The new vapes also come with new technology, including a requirement for users to verify their age and identity with a government-issued ID.
I see a lot of kids vaping in the bathrooms.
Supporters say vaping can help smokers quit. The FDA wrote in part, quote, under President Trump's leadership, the FDA has authorized a number of less harmful alternatives for smokers. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. sparred with lawmakers on that issue during a recent Senate hearing.
You tell us they're the sickest generation of children we've had. How can vaping make them any healthier?
Vaping was going to reduce combustible tobacco use.
But some critics say e-cigarettes will remain risky until regulators get rid of all of those Chinese vapes.
So you got to go to the source, and you need to make sure you're communicating directly and honestly with the American people.
Teen vaping rates are at a 10-year low right now. Only 45 vape products have FDA approval. In Washington, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
A bowling company now faces a new lawsuit. Fox Business Network's Jerry Willis has a look at that story and more in today's Fox Means Business.
Markets finished lower for your Thursday. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ finishing in the red after setting new intraday highs. The Dow also negative as oil prices moved higher. Intuit's Credit Karma is opening its doors to Americans with no credit history, a key barrier for anyone trying to rent an apartment or finance a car. The company is now offering tools to let them build a credit score using alternative data like rent, utility, and phone payments. Credit Karma says the problem hits Gen Z the hardest, with nearly half of 18 to 24-year-olds saying they feel financially held back because they haven't built a credit profile. McDonald's missed its U.S. sales targets in the first quarter, the fast food giant citing a challenging environment due to elevated gas prices. Executives on McDonald's earnings call said inflation at the pump is going to, quote, disproportionately impact low-income consumers. McDonald's is now leaning into a refreshed value strategy to support demand for the remainder of 2026. And a group of bowlers is suing Lucky Strike Entertainment, the company formerly known as Bolero. Plaintiffs accuse the company of buying up competing bowling centers to jack up prices. The proposed class action lawsuit says Lucky Strike now controls roughly 35% of U.S. bowling revenue. Lucky Strike calls the lawsuit a, quote, meritless attempt by a startup plaintiffs firm to generate headlines. That's business. I'm Jerry Willis.
No Mow May encourages property owners not to mow their lawns for the entire month. Conservationists say it helps flowering plants get an early bloom by providing critical food for pollinators like bees. But some biology experts in the U.S. are raising red flags, saying different environments could be allowing unwanted plants to do more harm than good. Fox's Gary Baumgarten has the story.
As we dive deeper into spring, the rain and sun will keep working their magic, causing lawns to explode with life. And while some people might be tempted to let theirs run wild this month for No Mow May,
No Mow May was a campaign started in 2019 by a British charity called Plant Life, and they were trying to just help bees in Great Britain, which actually have been having a pretty hard time.
some biology experts warn this initiative can be risky if carried out across the United States, where the environment is very different from that of the United Kingdom. According to Dr. Harlan Patch of Pennsylvania State University, not mowing your lawn gives non-native plants a chance to overwhelm a lot of native greenery that pollinators like.
You actually encourage a lot of weeds to grow in your lawn. Weeds that get in other people's lawns. Some things like non-native thistles can become problems for land managers. It doesn't help the bees, those plants, because they're not particularly nutritious for our native bees.
And at a time when tick season is accelerating, leaving tall grass and plants around your home could be an invitation for the disease-spreading bloodsuckers.
They like those kind of habitats, and they want to get in those sort of taller grasses, especially if you have a place with a lot of deer and a lot of animals running around.
Meanwhile, instead of No Mow May, Dr. Patch recommends
the best thing to do is to just plant a bunch of plants, a lot of flowering native plants, not just in spring, but throughout the year. And so then you'll have a lot of resources for all the different kinds of pollinators.
Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
Alrighty, folks. Well, just ahead, we have your full 5-day forecast. Keep it right here.
A few more scattered showers earlier on today, and as we go into tomorrow, if you look at your radar, it may look like it's raining, but there may be something preventing that rain from reaching the surface. I'll explain here coming up on why that may be happening and more details on the rest of your forecast.
A few weeks ago, I went down to the basement to see what was happening with the boilers and opened the door, and there was about 12 to 14 inches of water in our basement. I knew who to call right away, and that was Bouchard. They were here within a half hour. They work well with our insurance company. They're very, very efficient, and all I have to do is call them any time of day. They're going to take care of me. Our business is our life, and that's why I don't hesitate to recommend them to other people.
Craving something delicious? Welcome to High Street Market, located at 167 Enfield Road in Lincoln. Breakfast options? Grab a cup of coffee and try one of our sandwiches or burritos. When breakfast is over, we're just getting started. Pizza, subs, burgers, and pastries. Come get lost in Danny's Beer Cave. Order online and save 10% off your first order. High Street Market, where your taste buds go to party.
Do you have a wet basement, nasty crawl space, settling foundation, sinking concrete, or clogged gutters? I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems, all things basement-y. For over 30 years, thousands of homeowners throughout Maine and southeastern New Hampshire have trusted TC Hafford. Basement waterproofing, crawl space repair, stabilizing foundations, concrete leveling, and gutter installation. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems for all things basement-y.
Think you know Robert Charles? Think again. While President Trump was crushing the woke left, DC insider Bob Charles was making millions holding lucrative contracts with the woke DEI Never Trump Obama administration. Trump trader, anything for a buck chuck, can't be trusted.
Whether you're hurt by a landscaping truck like this, a work van like this, or any commercial vehicle, we know how to get you the big money you may deserve.
Hurt by a commercial vehicle? Call the twos. We win for you.
The UFL is bringing you closer to the game than ever before.
Unprecedented access. The UFL gets the people going.
Fox UFL Friday, Columbus, St. Louis.
Thank you very much. Tonight's weather is brought to you by Da Vinci Signs. From interior and exterior signage, signage packages, and vehicle wraps to illuminated signs, LEDs, and electronic message boards, we're all about making your business visible with innovative signage designed for impact. All right, as you saw for today, those highs in the low 60s here in Bangor, 62 to be exact. A few of us around town were in the upper 50s. You saw that in Bar Harbor, Machias, Millinocket. More closer to those low to mid 60s near Augusta and Lewiston for today. Same with Sanford and Freiburg. But the cool kids in town were up north and up to the northwest, Clayton Lake and Greenville, hanging out in the low 50s this afternoon. So many of us with the clear skies tonight and winds getting a little bit lighter than this afternoon. We'll see lows tonight falling to the mid to upper 30s here near Bangor and coastal regions. You'll be closer to those low to mid 30s as you head further north throughout the night, where you saw those cooler temperatures during this afternoon. But as we head into tomorrow, we'll have a similar day out there like it was for today. We should stay a little bit more dry with drier air at the surface. And yes, another day close to 60, most likely upper 50s here in Bangor. Same for Machias as well. As you get further north again, you will be cooler, most likely those upper 40s and low 50s for your highs tomorrow. So the average high this time of year right around 63 degrees. Will be a few degrees below that for Friday into your weekend, Saturday and Sunday. The cool day will be Monday when a cold front parks itself right on top of us, bringing a few showers to the area. And yes, we can get close to 50, but much of the day spent in the 40s with that cold front in the area. But we'll rebound nicely Tuesday, Wednesday, and the Thursday, right back near 60 degrees for many of those days. So that's pretty close to average, and we'll take it for this time of year. So winds out there were a little breezy today. They're going to lighten up a bit for tonight in some spots. There could still be a breeze hanging out, especially overnight. As we get into tomorrow, that afternoon breezes want to kick in, but you don't really see these numbers go up, right? So still, I expect some gusty winds right around 15, 20 miles per hour at times during the afternoon. More of that wind hanging around on your coastline, but into tomorrow night, those winds look to lighten up once again. So as we see out there, the rain is done for tonight as we have some clear skies out there. More clouds tomorrow, but again, it looks like we'll have some nice scattered showers tomorrow, but there is a lot of dry air at the surface, right? We'll have daytime temperatures right around the upper 50s, low 60s with dew points in the 20s. That makes it really hard for the rain to reach the ground. So could get a few sprinkles tomorrow. I do expect this to be some low-level clouds, but still, with that much dry air at the surface, it'll be very hard for those rain showers to reach the ground. So I'd expect to stay mostly dry for tomorrow, especially tomorrow night as well. As we head into your Saturday, this is when we'll have a better chance for some rain on the way. Not early in the day. You'll see sunshine warming us near 60, but then here comes those afternoon to evening showers right around 7 o'clock. They'll be arriving towards your coastline first and eventually pushing into the Bangor area. So for tonight, partly cloudy skies, staying dry, a light wind from the west. We'll have lows near 37 for tomorrow. We're going to stay right near 60. Our high at 59, partly cloudy skies, a few sprinkles possible, otherwise dry, with wind still a little breezy at times from the west, but otherwise at around 5 to 10 miles per hour. So taking a look at your extended forecast, we got more afternoon chances for rain on Saturday. Still a high of 61, a little bit cooler on Mother's Day with more scattered showers in the area. We'll be in the upper 50s and dropping about 10 degrees into your Monday with that cold front over us. Expect upper 40s with more rain showers, but we dry out Tuesday and those highs rebound nicely right back near 60 degrees. Beth?
Chase, thank you so much. Folks, stay with us. Sports is next.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust. We get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
Sprague's Nursery and Garden Center is your destination for all things green, and yellow, and pink, and red, and, well, you'll understand when you visit us. Plants aren't just another department here. They're our whole world. From gardening classes to our expansive greenhouses, we cultivate a community of budding and seasoned gardeners alike. Professional landscapers turn to us too. Shouldn't you? Sprague's Nursery and Garden Center, growing with you since 1947.
Nothing runs like a Deere.
And Greenway Equipment Sales makes it easy to keep your John Deere running smoothly year-round. Our mobile maintenance truck will come to you and service most walk-behind and riding lawn equipment right in your yard. Just call or schedule online. Whatever the season, we'll have you tuned up, sharpened up, and geared up to mow or blow whatever Mother Nature dishes up. Contact the Smith Brothers today for service delivered.
Nothing runs like a Deere. From Greenway Equipment Sales, family owned and operated since 1994.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
The month of May shifts into gear with the Sunseal Grand Prix, the final stop before the Indy 500, Saturday on Fox. Welcome to the fastest racing on Earth.
Welcome back in, folks. We'll start on the hardwood where UMaine basketball scored an exciting commitment on Wednesday.
I'm just ready to work.
Wednesday was an exciting day in the Maine basketball community as New Gloucester native and former Montverde Academy and Newman School guard Caden Bedard announced on his Instagram he's decided to return home and play his college basketball at the University of Maine.
You know, they've always stayed in touch. They've come to a bunch of games, and I felt a lot of love from, you know, Mark Wood and all the others, the staff and coaching. And, you know, I thought it would be a great fit basketball wise. You know, my dad went there. And I have one of my best friends, Ace, up there too as well. So, you know, it seemed like the best fit all around.
Yes, he's talking about household name and current Maine freshman Ace Flagg. Caden has played hoops with Ace and Cooper for as long as he can remember, as Bedard was a key member of the Maine United team that made waves in the AAU circuit in 2022 and 23. It sounds like Ace being in Orono certainly helped the decision.
It did play a pretty big piece. You know, I think our chemistry, we've always had, you know, a special connection on the court. And, you know, as one of my best friends growing up, I've known him for as long as I can pretty much remember.
Some Maine fans are wondering how I've got this far and not mentioned Caden's dad, Andy, the Maine Basketball Hall of Fame guard and former Black Bear star. But that's what Andy wanted, for his son's decision to be exactly that, his decision.
He did a good job of kind of staying out of it. You know, he didn't want me to go there just because, you know, he was a big name there. He wanted me to be happy with my decision. And, you know, he gave me his input on certain things when I asked. And obviously his legacy and me wanting to continue that legacy plays a little bit of a piece of it. But, you know, he wasn't ever like pushing like, oh, you have to. Like, he was good and supportive and wanted me to make the best decision for me.
Caden tore his ACL last summer, which can be a nightmare for a player trying to get recruited. Well, now he's back on the court doing drills and is thankful to have a home in Orono.
Coming off this injury, I was like questioning, you know, am I going to be able to play at the Division I level, or am I going to have to just go to school for academics? I'm just super thankful for the whole entire staff for giving me a chance. It's a big weight off my shoulders.
Let's stay in the area and turn our attention to Orono High School softball, where the Red Riots hosted the Central Red Devils. The sun poking in and out up in Orono for this one. Let's start in the third with Central to play. Elizabeth Lugden gets a base hit. She'd get to third base, and a nice hit from Maddie Cox sends her home. Now here's a base hit from Allie Spark. That goes into the outfield and allows Cox to make it all the way home, and it's 2-0 Red Devils with two more Red Riots on base. Orono's Jillian Severance is going to get the closing strikeout, and then it's the fourth. She doesn't allow a run, strikes out all three to end the frame. Orono's turn at the plate. Aria Porter with the bunt. Central misses the throw to first, and Porter gets to third. She would score, but this hit by Maddie Frost in the fifth sends Jordan Curtis home and ups the score. Central goes on to win 4-1. Now time to check in with the Red Sox, who are coming off a series sweep against the Detroit Tigers. In what has been a disappointing start to the season, Boston entered the week with a 13-21 record, but they come away with 3 big wins over the Detroit Tigers, who play second in the American League Central currently. This marks the first time this season the Sox have swept a series. The series started with a 5-4 win on Monday, highlighted by a Jarren Duran home run. The Sox then won in dominant fashion on Tuesday and Wednesday with 10-3 and 4-0 victories. Red Sox interim manager Chad Tracy says the trip out to the Motor City was a successful one, and he's happy to see how his team's playing all around.
It's been a good week. The series was good. We did a lot of things right. We played great defensively. We ran the bases extremely well. We got the clutch hits that have been missing. We pitched extremely well. So it was a really good short trip.
Sox also placed young star outfielder Roman Anthony on the injured list with a wrist injury. Chad Tracy says that Roman has no setbacks, but that they couldn't justify playing a man down on the roster until he returned. Roman should be back for the series against the Braves in Atlanta next Friday. We've still got playoff hockey in Maine as the Maine Mariners are headed to Wheeling, West Virginia for round 2 of the Kelly Cup playoffs. The team boarding several shuttle buses earlier on Thursday before leaving from the Jetport. The Mariners scoring a first-round TKO over Adirondack Wednesday night in a Game 7 thriller, coming back to beat the Thunder 3-1. It was the team's first ever playoff series win in a series that had it all.
We had a feeling it was going to go to the distance. I mean, look at the rivalry all season, and I mean, they played their hearts out, and it's that's playoff hockey right there. And I think we learned a lot, and we grew a lot as a group heading into Wheeling here.
The rivalry we built with those guys, I think it was kind of destined to go all the way, and we just stuck to what we do best, and just shows what kind of character we got in the room and the brotherhood we built in there to just stick with it and give our best.
Folks, that's all the time we have for sports. I like that block. I thought we got you a lot of information there. We'll be right back after the break.
For years, I've been telling you that all roads lead to Down East. I'd say you listened.
Down East Toyota is now the #1 Toyota dealer in Maine. And we didn't get here just by selling cars. We got here by taking care of them.
From our state-of-the-art body shop
to our own rental agency, we're here to serve you at every stage of the journey.
From the entire Down East team, thank you
for making us the #1 Toyota dealer in Maine.
One family, one dealership, one outstanding brand. All roads lead to Down East for your next Toyota.
What's a manometer? Man-eater. Manometer. Let's do this. Help. Send someone. I can't do this anymore. Is it supposed to make that noise?
Definitely not, but we can fix it.
Okay.
Webb's RV Center has a 4-acre lot with over 75 previously owned campers all on sale, plus another 4 acres of new RVs and motorhomes. Webb's RV will take anything in trade. You can buy a camper anywhere, but be sure to buy your next camper at your local neighbor. A website can't service your RV, but Webb's RV will. And they have the biggest service department in the state of Maine to help you enjoy your RV or motorhome.
So come on down, neighbor. The coffee pot's on and the pencil is sharp.
Thousands of kids like Caroline receive life-changing care at Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center each year, the only full-service pediatric program north of Portland. You can help support them by joining the Summer Classic for Maine Kids Golf Tournament, happening July 31st at Bangor Municipal Golf Course. Benefiting the Children's Miracle Network at Eastern Maine Medical Center, every dollar raised supports pediatric care today, tomorrow, and for years to come. Ready to tee up for a great cause? Visit northernlight.org/4kids to learn more and register today.
Jado Highlands Golf Course, nestled in the woods of Lincoln, just a short drive from Bangor or Holton. Designed for players of all abilities, Jado features everything a golfer desires. 18 fully irrigated holes, driving range, practice green, and a golf shop with instruction available. Jado maintains quality course conditions while proudly displaying some of the most scenic views in Maine. Challenge yourself to a round of golf surrounded by the beauty of Maine at Jado Highlands Golf Course.
What animal suggested this image? I mean, we all know the answer except for that one guy.
Who will be part of the 1% Club? Only Mondays on Fox.
Welcome back. It's World Password Day, and tech experts are celebrating by telling you to get rid of your passwords. Fox's Eben Brown has more in this edition of Fox on Tech.
Your password is the portal to everything that represents you.
Tech experts and officials marked World Password Day on Thursday by telling folks to beef up their personal online security. But today's digital defense needs to go beyond the old tips and tricks like picking long, complicated passwords. And a growing number are recommending folks switch over to pass keys like biometric readers, pointing out the safest password is the one that doesn't exist.
Most really current applications, websites, service providers offer passkeys. And when that offer comes up, accept it. It's super easy to enable it on your phone.
Vic Desai is the head of global security risks at Accenture. He says AI is at the top of the worry list when it comes to defending our modern digital lives. Most AI programs are already able to hack their way past multi-factor authentication, like getting a code sent to your phone in order to log in.
AI is increasing its capabilities and efficiencies and intelligence every single day. I've never seen anything like this before in my life.
Experts are pushing pass keys because so far AI hasn't had much luck breaching them. They're based on biological markers like physical appearance or fingerprints, meaning you might be doing yourself a disservice if you're relying on old-fashioned passwords, which originated at MIT back in the 1960s.
The way that we've always been doing it just doesn't work anymore.
The Trump administration says last year there were more than 1,000 password-related attacks in the U.S. every second. In Miami, Eben Brown, Fox News.
A pair of best friends from Oregon helped deliver a baby during a flight. Fox's Vince Ibarra has more.
Back on April 24th, best friends Tina Fritz and Karin Powell were flying home from vacation on Delta Flight 478 when they say the airline crew asked the passengers for medical assistance for someone at the back of the plane. The friends, who are an EMT and respiratory therapist, offered to help along with the nurse on board. Roughly 10 minutes later, while still dealing with this emergency, they say another flight attendant came up to them asking for help with another passenger.
Can I get a couple of you to come check out this lady up front? She thinks she's in labor.
Without any hesitation, the two introduced themselves to the expected mother. They say the woman was in labor on the plane for about 2 hours before they were asked to help. The friends say the pregnant woman knew she was going to deliver the baby while in the sky.
We trained for this. We do modules on this. We read. We have to go through so many CEs, and so when it happened, it was just like, okay, we're here. Let's do this.
And there wasn't really time to
get freaked out. Yeah, I know.
Fritz helped the mother from the side.
I grabbed her shoulders like this and her feet like this, and we had her crunched up, and we were counting while we were pushing.
And Powell had to help guide the baby out, and about 20 minutes later, they say a baby girl was born. The friends had to get creative. They say they had to use shoestrings to tie off the umbilical cord.
It's like afterwards that we were like, did that just happen?
When the plane landed at PDX, Port of Portland says EMS helped guide the mother and newborn off the plane.
That baby was healthy. That baby was cuter than a button. It pinked up right away. Didn't need any supportive help. Like the best outcome we could have ever asked for. Yeah.
The friends say they're now bonded with the mother and baby for life.
Oh yeah, we're the honorary aunties.
Very cool. Well, that $150 train ticket to the FIFA World Cup games on New Jersey Transit is getting a price cut. NJ Transit says the new price of round-trip tickets to MetLife Stadium is being cut from $150 to $105, thanks to support from outside sources. The usual price for the journey from New York to MetLife Stadium is $12.90, but New Jersey Transit said the extra money was needed to pay for added security measures to the events. New Jersey Governor Mickey Sherrill directed NJ Transit to ensure commuters do not carry the burden of the cost for World Cup events, so the money needed to pay for these events would instead be transferred to World Cup ticket holders rather than local taxpayers. The agency is continuing to solicit sponsors, meaning there is a chance ticket prices could decrease further. These tickets go on sale May 13th. Well, from a pop icon's concert special to a popular TV chef closing his kitchen doors, Fox's Ashley Dvorkin has all of the latest in today's Hollywood Nation.
I'm so lucky to have this life. Elle Woods returns, Carmi's last call, and Gaga turns up mayhem in the Hollywood Nation. Lady Gaga unleashes Mayhem Requiem worldwide. Apple Music announced the new music special and live album, filmed during Gaga's intimate one-night-only concert at the Wiltern Theater in Los Angeles on January 14th. The special features live performances of songs from her album Mayhem. It premieres May 14th with the live album arriving May 15th.
Okay, buongiorno tutti!
Carmi's Kitchen is closing for one final service. FX announced The Bear will end with its 5th and final season, premiering June 25th. The 8-episode farewell picks up after Carmi leaves the restaurant behind, forcing Sydney, Richie, and Sugar to band together in hopes of earning one last Michelin star.
You know I can cook too.
Anthony Bourdain's life story gets the spotlight in today's First Looks. A24 released the trailer for Tony, starring Dominic Sessa as the late celebrated chef and television host. Set in Provincetown during the summer of 1976, the film follows the future culinary icon before fame as he navigates ambition, identity, and experiences which would shape his future. The film opens October 3rd.
It's a new city with a fresh start.
Elle Woods heads back to the 90s. Prime Video released the teaser for Elle, the Legally Blonde prequel series starring Lexi Mindtree as a young Elle Woods. After moving to Seattle in 1995, the coming-of-age story follows the future Harvard law student navigating friendships, romance, and family moments which shape the future Harvard law student. The series premieres July 11th.
Bruiser, wish me luck.
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
In honor of our nation's 250th anniversary, Friends of Fort Knox will be hosting a number of historical education events. The fort was built in 1884, so it's a Civil War era fort, which makes it the perfect backdrop for the School of the Soldier events, which show participants what the life of a Civil War soldier was like with live reenactors. That kicks off this weekend. In July, there will be Civil War encampments with the 6th Maine Regiment that include cannon firing and living history shows.
The fort is static, right? How many bricks are in this? How much stone does that weigh? How much does this cannonball weigh? That's only for a few that like that kind of stuff. It's the reenactors, the human element that kind of put it into perspective.
Despite being a Civil War era fort, the Friends of Fort Knox will be honoring multiple time periods, including the medieval period. An educational demonstration about living in that era is also happening in July. There's even a Harry Potter-style wizarding and witching event coming in October. Go to their website for more information. Bangor police have welcomed a new member to their team, one with a real nose for explosives. Take a look. K9 Tom joined the department recently alongside his handler, Officer Chris Bartlett. The two completed a rigorous 12-week course in San Antonio, Texas, to learn the ins and outs of detecting explosives. The two will team up at the Bangor International Airport to help keep everyone there safe.
He's a great dog. He's a German Short-haired Pointer. He'll be 2 years old tomorrow, May 1st. Very well-mannered, unbelievable nose.
Bartlett said the training was intense and very thorough, and a very warm welcome to Officer Bartlett, and happy belated birthday to K9 Tom. We know they're going to do great. Alrighty, folks, that is going to do it for us. From everyone here at Fox 22 News, take care and have a great rest of your night. We'll see you tomorrow.
For more local news coverage, switch over to our sister station, ABC7, right now for ABC7 News at 11.
How many?
And who you want standing by your side at all times. loneliness is lovely now, 'cause it looks just like yours.
And once you do, you hold on as tightly as you can.
Be not afraid to drown in this light.
Sharon Stone and Katrina Balfe on a new Jimmy Kimmel Live later tonight. Live Monday, it's American Idol's grand finale.
You guys are just bringing it.
With performances from all three judges, mentor Alicia Keys, Motley Crue, Nelly, Brad Paisley, Jason Mraz, and more. And who will be your next American Idol? Keela.
Your growth is so inspirational.
Hannah.
You are absolutely amazing.
Jordan.
The best voice I've ever heard.
Your 2026 American Idol is...
American Idol's grand finale, live Monday on ABC and Disney+. Next day.
This is ABC 7 News at 11.
A Waldo County teen who is charged in connection with the murder